Okay, off you go, Sharifa.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the ABA Journal Club. My name is Sharifa Yatim. I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I'm also one of the co-founders of the ABA Journal Club. As you all got used to, every quarter we get a volunteer BCBA that can discuss an article that we can use in our practice. So in all, it's all about applying theory into practice. And that's exactly what we're aiming for. So please welcome our guest of honor today. Her name is Lama Ayoub, and she's a BCBA. She is currently the International Director of Alternative Path Training Schools in Virginia in the United States of America. So please help me to welcome her, and you can go ahead, Lama, to talk about what's your topic today, and what we're going to be talking about today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharifa. Thank you, everyone, for attending this event. What a nice day to start my day with you today. I'm in Virginia right now, missing UAE, and everyone is there. My topic will be about train the trainer. So one of the topics that I use nowadays, or this article, one of the articles that I'm using right now, because I'm working internationally, I'm working with people in the Middle East, in many countries in the Middle East. So I find this article will be very helpful even for me when I am working with other teachers, parents, either face to face or through Zoom, for example, or remotely. I hope that this article will add some new ideas for you while you are working with your trainees. So I think Sharifa would like to talk a little bit about the club before we start talking about, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, sure. So ABA Journal Club, as we mentioned, it is run by volunteers, by three BCBAs, Emirati BCBAs, myself, as well as two other BCBAs that they couldn't make it today. So I would like to also mention that the ABA Journal Club, you are free to join. So there's a link that I've already put in the group chat. I'll send it again, in which you are free to, share your information and let us know if you're interested to be one of the volunteers to talk about and be part of our journal club. Now, of course, thanks to the ECAE, the Emirates College of Advanced Education, they have collaborated with us in order to give free CEUs for the ones that need to collect their CEU in order to to renew their BCBA certifications. Nusaiba, great. Thanks, Michelle. Nusaiba is here. She's one of the co-founders. So hi, Nusaiba. Thanks for joining us today. Please do follow us on our Instagram account. It's ABA Journal _club. We would put any new news regarding any new articles or events that we will be conducting. The previous sessions are on YouTube. So currently we're on our fourth quarter for this year, and we've had 4 speakers so far. And the sessions that were completed is on the YouTube channel of ICAE. That's it for me.
Okay, so
Lema, go ahead.
here we are. So why this article? This article, as I said, that introduces three ideas that I really find them one of the most ideas or things that we are working all the day, every day, and think about every day as a BCBAs. The first one is the functional assessment. We believe that we need to have accurate functional assessment in order for us to be able to have a successful intervention. Without functional assessment, specifically without functional analysis of the part of functional analysis of the functional assessment, without this accurate part of functional analysis, we believe that our intervention has is not the most successful one. The second idea is the idea of conducting, as a BCBA, the idea of conducting accurate functional analysis. Um, it, when I read the article, something came to my mind, and a question came to my mind asking how many of us as BCBAs, after we finish all the process of certification, how many of us are ready to conduct a real functional, a real accurate functional analysis? How many of us get the chance to participate really, and the real participation is not sitting and observing other people while they are conducting the functional analysis? How much are we prepared to conduct an accurate functional analysis? Another question that also covered in this, it's a short article, but it's an amazing article from my opinion. Yani. I hope you share me this as well. How many of us as BCBAs finish getting our certification, when we finish all the process, again, coursework, supervision hours, and I know it's a long journey for all of us, but how much are we prepared to train others in conducting different ABA procedures? One of them, and the most one of them, is conducting functional analysis. So I find this article it's in short introduction, but it's very condensed and has a very valuable ideas. They in the introduction they said again, without accurate functional analysis, we cannot come up with individual effective intervention. However, functional analysis sometimes, like for example, in some schools, residential homes, some homes as well, when we are working with the parents, we don't have the enough resources, time, skills, mainly. Sometimes we don't have financial support to conduct an accurate functional analysis. So they use alternative of traditional functional analysis, which is the trial-based functional analysis. Trial-based functional analysis was provided by Segafus and Sagar in 1995. They were the first to provide the first demonstration of trial-based functional analysis, and as a practical alternative of the traditional, let's say, traditional functional analysis. Now, what is the difference between the two? The traditional functional analysis that introduced by Iwata and his colleagues previously, and the idea of Sagafu and Sagars. The main idea that the trial-based functional analysis is introduced usually in trials rather than in sessions. The traditional functional analysis, when we use these procedures, we need 5 to 15 minutes sessions, and introducing and implementing different conditions to come up that help us to identify the function of the behavior. In the trial-based functional analysis, they use trials. A trial could be 1 minute or 2 minutes. The trial is divided into segments. That could be some segments are controlled, they call it control, and some segments called test. In the test segment, usually we introduce or we provide the established operation for the putative reinforcer. And in the control, the students or the individual that we are trying to identify the function of his the behavior that he's exhibiting, the reinforcer is ready for him for free. Freely, he has free access to the reinforcer. By comparing the responding in the test segment and the control segment, we can identify the function of the behavior. So it's very quick trials. The second difference that the traditional functional analysis, we are usually need a controlled clinical environment, while the trial-based functional analysis, we are implementing these procedures during the students or the child, if we are working with the child, or individual if we are working with the adults, in their during their daily schedule. I don't have to take them in a specific environment. We go to their environment during their schedule, normal schedule, and we implement these trials. In the article, they also talked about the benefits of trial-based functional analysis, and they mentioned that first benefit, it will be increase the number of people around the individual that they can assess the problem behavior. It allowing also for example, the BCBAs, the supervisors, to allocate their time for more challenging behaviors without neglecting of the needs of other clients or other families that they are serving. Usually allowing the staff to conduct trial-based functional analysis, allowing the parents or training them to conduct these trial-based functional analysis, help them to understand how their own behavior affecting their students' behavior or their child's behavior. So they start to understand what we are talking about when we train people around us about the environmental factors that affecting the problem behavior. And they will be more ready to implement accurate intervention later on, because they have the basics, they have the knowledge. Why I'm doing that? Okay, yeah, yes, you have to implement this. They start to understand what we are talking about as behavior analysts. This is one of the things that I think all of us facing when we are talking to people outside our field, when we start talking about the environment, how much the environment could affect the people's behavior. If they conduct these trials by themselves, they will be more ready to implement and accurately the intervention that we are proposed for them. In this article, they introduce Train the Trainers program. They have 6 supervisors working in a residential house for adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. They train these 6 supervisors to train 9 house managers to implement the trial-based functional analysis. So they have 6 supervisors. Before I talk about the subjects, I want to talk about the target response.
Sorry,
Sorry, go
Lama,
ahead.
sorry. I just want to also point out that Michelle has added the article on the chat. So whoever want to follow the slides with us can access the article for free. So just copy paste the link into the Google and you'll get the article. Thanks. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Sharifa. Thank you, Michelle. So the independent variable here was the house manager fidelity to trial-based functional procedures. So they take the fidelity and how much these house managers accurately implement the procedures as their dependent variable. And I think this is the most important aspect to see how much training these 6 supervisors was beneficial beneficial for the other people while they were training other people who didn't have any idea or any previous training in applied behavior analysis. So these supervisors, the 6 supervisors that participated in this study, all of them have a master's degree, and only 2 of them were BCBAs. And the others, they have very limited exposure to ABA. So they said they had attended some classes briefly on ABA. Before they give them the chance to train other people in implementing that trial-based functional analysis, they give them a training, and they have to demonstrate 100% in procedural fidelity, graphing accuracy, and data interpretation after training. And I think this was so important to mention here, that the amount of training that they give it to the supervisors, and they were not lean about it. All of them, they have to be passing with 100% accuracy. The house managers, they put specific criteria for selecting these house managers. So they select house managers that they are working directly with the clients that exhibiting the problem behavior. They were working in the house for or with the client for at least 1 month. They have a high school degree or something similar at least. They didn't have any formal exposure or formal training in applied behavior analysis before, and they train them how to protect themselves and others from any dangerous behavior. 9 clients in the study. All the clients were adult, and they were have a diagnosis with developmental disabilities and exhibit behaviors that are not dangerous behaviors, but they are in a level or in frequency or duration that needed an intervention. They mentioned clearly in this article they didn't train anyone to they didn't train the house managers to deal or to conduct trial-based function analysis on any dangerous behaviors. So they talked about behaviors such as screaming, such as swearing, and maybe a mild form of self-injurious behaviors. So the effects of the training were evaluated with a non-concurrent multiple baseline. For the independent variable was the house manager fidelity to trial-based function analysis. Data collectors answer yes/no questions and specific checklists. For the house managers, they have a specific checklist for each condition, trial-based condition, and the questions in these checklists were just they need the answer for yes or no. Give answer for the people who are scoring, or the researcher assistants, or the other people who scored the performance of the house managers. Supervisors training fidelity data was assessed using training session rubric. So they designed a specific rubric for these supervisors, and they have to finish all the task lists, all the tasks in this rubric. And whenever they didn't finish the task, for the supervisors, the assessor, or which were in this case the researcher assistants, were let them finish the trial, and tell them in the rubric that you didn't finish the task, and they give them the hint or the prompt how to finish it, and let them conduct a trial one more time. The data collectors scored whether the putative reinforcer was presented during controlled segments or not in each trial. This is during the training of the house managers. So they have specific criteria as well for the data collectors to score whether the putative reinforcer was present during controlled segments of each trial or not. Whether the house manager was able to correctly give the consequence of each problem behavior or not. Whether the appropriate materials were presented and inappropriate materials were absent in each trial. And also whether the house manager was able to take accurate data during this trial or not. So they make a checklists and rubric checklists for the house managers and rubrics for the supervisors that cover, I believe, all the skills that needed to conduct these trial-based trial-based functional analysis. They talked about the reliability, and they give, I think, a very good description for the reliability in this article. So they use a second observer independently was collecting data on the house manager fidelity to trial-based function analysis procedures, as well as the supervisor fidelity. So they scored data for both, for the supervisors and for the house managers. The mean reliability scores for the house managers fidelity, as mentioned in the article, for the ignore, tangible, and escape conditions were 97%. And it was collected during 42% of all ignored trials, 47% of all tangible trials, and 42% of all escape trials. For the attention condition, it was the reliability was 95% to this condition, and they calculated it during 47% of all attention trials. The reliability was calculated by dividing the number of agreements between primary and reliability data collectors by the number of agreements plus disagreements, and converting this to the percentage. The same thing they did for the supervisors. So the scores of the score for supervisor fidelity to the training rubric was 96%. And was calculated during 33% of the sessions. Again, the reliability was calculated by dividing the number of agreements between the primary and reliability data collector. By dividing this number by the agreement and disagreement, and convert this to percentage.
Lama, I want to also mention that today's presentation is until 6 o'clock only. So just to let everyone know. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And there's one CEU. Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharifa. Baseline data. So they use the Bloom et al. Article procedure, because Bloom et al. In Bloom et al. article they use 2 minutes trials, and they divided this trial into 3 segments. So they have control, test, control segments. So they use the same procedure. They gave this article to the house managers to read it 24 hours before the assessment, that the baseline assessment. Then the house manager, managers, all of them were asked to conduct data on the client's problem behavior. The same conditions that mentioned in the Bloom et al. So they have attention condition, they have tangible condition, they have demand condition, and ignore condition. And the house managers were asked to conduct the trial-based function analysis for all these conditions, and no feedback was provided. They basically, for the training, they used the behavioral skills training in the form that first they conducted the training in the supervisors' offices. House managers were called to go to the supervisors' different offices, and they give them a brief introduction, 15 minutes, written introduction about the trial-based functional analysis conditions. They described them to the house managers. They used role play. At the beginning, the house manager was the client, and at the end, the supervisor was the client. They use also the data sheet, complete data sheet, to describe and model how to collect the data during implementing these procedures. They also talked about the error correction procedure. So whenever the house manager was not able to react or to give correct response, the correct response or the correct consequence, sorry, the correct response, when the house manager was not able to provide the correct consequence for the problem behavior, or when the house manager was not able to collect accurate data, that's considered as an error. So the supervisor will state the error, describe and model the correct procedure, and then give the house manager another opportunity to implement or conduct this trial again. So all this was mentioned on the article. The post-testing, they use the same idea of, or the same procedure that they use for the baseline, except two things. They didn't give the article for the house managers to read it a day before, and they didn't provide feedback. And they mentioned also in the article that they only have the first trial. They scored only the first trial in each condition, and they didn't score the rest of the trials. Because after that, the reason for that, because they were providing feedback during the post training. Now, I know the figure is so small, I tried to make it bigger or divide it, but it didn't work for me. I'm sorry for that. But the figure shows that the fidelity of the house managers during the baseline was below 50% in all conditions. And after the training, the performance of all the house managers improved in all conditions, and they reached 100% fidelity. But also they mentioned that all the house managers needed feedback at least in one condition, except for house manager 4. That proved the effectiveness of their program in teaching behavior supervisor to train the house managers how to conduct trial-based functional analysis. In the article, they mentioned some limitations. The first one, that providing feedback in the post-testing, they discussed that, and they said that could be affect the performance of the house managers. But they also mentioned that two things here. First of all, that they only calculate, or they only score the first trial. So even when they give the feedback, it will be giving after the scoring if the house manager made any mistake, they will score it as no. So the score only for the first trial. And the second thing, they also mentioned it in the article, that the feedback may affect the performance of the house manager for the next conditions, or the next conditions or next trials. But they argued that each condition needs specific behavior from the house manager. So they giving feedback in one condition will not affect the performance of the house manager in the other conditions. Also, they mentioned that in the implementing the base trial functional analysis in the real environment may leads to led to not expecting or not occurrence of the behavior in each trials. In each trial, when they were trying to conduct a functional analysis of the behavior, which is normal. When you are contriving for a specific condition, either yes or no, the problem behavior would occur in the real environment. And then I think this is one of the benefits as well, of big benefits of the trial-based functional analysis. While in the training, during the training in their offices, they were contriving and they problem behavior was occurred in each trial while they were training the house managers. But on the other hand, they mentioned that and they argued that training the house managers in this format helped the house managers to accurately respond to any problem behavior respond to any problem behavior that occurs in the real time, because in the real time you don't expect or you are not ready uh, 100% for the problem behavior to occur or not. But of course, when they contrive it in the offices while they were training them, that was the house manager knows that the problem behavior is going to occur now during the test segment. And they said that they used a non-concurrent multiple baseline, and they mentioned that the baseline was so short and they wished that it was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
What do you
That would
think?
be interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is my belief in the article, that
Yeah.
sometimes if they are very individual, it will be hard to share all the information. So if you even
Yeah.
we contact them, we have to be very specific, sorry, about what we need exactly so they can share it with us.
We have some RBTs that are joining us here. I don't think they know what is trial-based function analysis because they don't cover it in their 40 hours of practice.
Yeah.
So so the trial-based, you were mentioning it, Lema, about this. The trial-based function analysis is a shortened action of the actual function analysis with four different phases. But for the trial-based, it is they're just choosing one or two functions that they hypothetically think that this is the function of the behavior, and then they start to apply it in the actual classroom.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can also, and it depends on the clients, it depends again on the problem behavior that you are trying to identify the function of it, but you can apply the four conditions, because it's only in this article, it was on the trial was only 2 minutes, three segments. So control, give the access of the reinforcer for the students, and then in the test segment, it's the only just a few seconds that you are implementing or introducing the again, I don't want to use big words, but here we have to introduce the so I want to describe it in a way for the RBTs to understand it. I can't find my
It's
words.
not easy, yeah. Yeah, I understand because it's all about, so the trial base is a shorter format
What
of
is
the
the
FA,
expectation? Yeah.
and then they need to choose they need to choose their functions and then test that out in the actual environment, and it shouldn't take long. It should take, like as you said, 15 to 20 minutes
So
to
this is
apply it.
example. For example, if you are testing the demand, for example, conditions. So in the first few seconds of the trial, you don't put any demand on the students. In the test segment, you give him a demand or give the students a demand, and then you see if the problem behavior occurred. You end your trial at this moment. If the problem behavior didn't occur, you put again the control segment where the student is not giving any demand and free access for the reinforcers,
Yeah, yeah,
which is rest in this case,
yeah,
or break.
yeah. It's very interesting because we do, as therapists, as practitioners, as educators, we get a lot of problem behaviors happening on a daily basis.
Mhm.
So the unfortunately, because many therapists or educators, they don't understand that the trial-based FA, so they might just depend on the ABC data collection,
Yeah.
and the direct observation, and that's it, without having to test it out and see whether it truly has the consequences, is truly is the reinforcer of that behavior occurring and maintaining it.
Yeah, and
All
it
right.
and sorry, trial-based functional analysis is something like you are give a test. quick. And when I'm observing other people, my supervisees or my RBTs, while they are implementing them, we would sit there and we say to her, okay, if I'm prompting her, give him a demand right now, and I will take the data on that, and the problem behavior will occur, and you will see the responding increases with the demands or not increasing the demands. It's interesting, and it's very quick as well. You can come up with the function of the behavior sometimes within one session,
Right.
while you are observing one session. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're going to our next section of our presentation. So as you guys got used to for the ones that came back to us, we start with talking about the article. We'll see how, how that article can be applied or not. So remember, any article that you guys read, we want to make sure that they meet the 7 dimensions of applied behavior analysis. So again, the 7 dimensions of applied behavior analysis, as Lama has mentioned on the slide, there are 7. So I'm going to let Lama go ahead and explain what are these and how, if it's connected to the article or not.
Yeah, let's see the first one. Generality. The behavior change may said to be generalized if they are durable over time and it appear in a wide variety of possible environments, and if the spreads widely uh, in the variety of relation behaviors. So what do you think about this article? Do you think this article covered um, this dimension? It has to be over time, it has to be different settings, it has to be with different people, different materials, different behaviors. So what do you think? Um,
Guys, please do, make this a more, engaging presentation. I don't want you guys to be bored. So let us know, what do you guys think? Do you think that this article was able to look at the different behaviors? Did they choose different participants? You can also scroll through the article if you didn't have a chance to read it in the link that was shared earlier.
yeah, let's remind them a little bit, Sharifa.
Yeah.
6 supervisors. We have 9 house managers dealing with 9 clients with 9 different behaviors and 9, I think, different settings as well. Training was in the office of the supervisors. Implementation was in the client's house or in the client's day program. Different, all these students exhibit different behaviors, as we said. It's not only one behavior they were looking at. So does it pass or not? With all these conditions.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think they score yes in that one. So
Okay,
we got
perfect.
1 out of 7 so far.
Here we are. Let's see. Effective. Yeah, effective. If we look at the graph that they provided us, they said that the fidelity of the house managers were less than 50% before the training. After the training, um, all the house managers were implementing the procedures with 100 fidelity. So is it effective? Was effective procedures that to train the supervisors to train the house managers, and in the way, in the format that they were training them as well. So
Yeah,
is
we're getting a lot of yeses.
oh,
Um, Someone said yes, the results show the changes in behavior after the intervention. Someone else said it was effective. Did
mhm.
someone want to speak up or something? Please let me know. So yeah, everyone is saying yes. We see that the intervention that put together had improved the trainees' behaviors.
Mhm. Technological. The procedures are described clearly and consistently and consistently. What? But I can't read now. So that others may implement the procedures accurately. All steps are written in a detail to get the desired results. So it's a short article, but I believe because I'm biased, maybe, that it's very well written. Yani when you read the article, you see exactly what was going on there, right? Right or not?
Yeah, so we're getting, yes, all were well written and explained in each stage and how they were able to measure the behaviors. Um, but again, I because it's short, I wish that I can just take this article and just apply it without going and looking for all the materials. You know what I mean?
Of course. This is
Yeah.
one of maybe one of the question marks here. But as I said to you, maybe because they have a lot of checklists, it will be not easy to share it with the people, and confidentiality reasons as well.
Someone said the
Okay.
response definition was clearly defined and explained.
And the error correction procedures as well for both the managers for both and supervisors were clear as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, applied. Yes, the changes of the behavior changes applied when it enhance and improve the everyday life of a learner. Yes, and those who are closest to the learner. I think so. Yeah, by
Yeah.
improving socially significant behaviors. Yeah, what better than helping the parents to start to understand why the problem behavior is occurring? What is better than to help the teachers understanding what's going on in the environments that affect the student behavior, and they start to make the changes in the environment to reduce this problem behavior? I think if we can do that, I think we will be successful BCBAs, right?
Yes, we're getting a lot of also we're getting a lot of yeses, definitely applied. Um, thumbs up, a lot of thumbs
Okay.
up are showing us, yes, definitely it helped the trainees, and that would definitely help to think about the better interventions for those residentials.
Yeah. However, I like also one sentence in this short article, but it has a lot of things in it, that they make a recommendation of the continuous supervision, which is so important, because when we start training some people, we have to be sure that they continue, generalize, and implement these procedures in a correct way. Because one of the things that maybe I'm noticing right now, because I'm working with different people from different cultures, different backgrounds, that the first time you start talking about the function of the behavior, they start to thinking or start to imagine it is an easy procedures. And because it makes a lot of sense. That's the beauty of applied behavior analysis, that when we talk to the people, we are talking about something that is make a lot of sense for them, so they start to think that's easy. Yeah, sure, that will be easy for me next time when I see my student doing blah 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 to come immediately and make the hypothesis of the function of the behavior. Yes, it's easy, but still it needs a lot of experience. So that one of the recommendation that I liked in this article, actually.
Lama, they were also someone also mentioned that continuous supervision is so rare as well. Continuous supervision is rare, especially in this part of the region.
Of course, of course. Uh, what did I do? Sorry, I'm sorry, Sharifa. Applied. Oh, we have to say talk about analytic here. We have to. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Of course,
Yeah.
that's one of the things. And the supervision is rare. That we don't have enough supervisors. I totally agree on that. But in the other hand, we have now we can use remote supervisions. And I think when we train the people in a degree that they can implement these procedures the first time, and then we can continue on Zoom. You can continue observing them on different platforms. Nowadays, there is a lot of platforms available for us as supervisors, and we can use them. In one of the classes that I'm supervising right now, they implement cameras, and of course, they took all the permissions from the parents and all the confidentiality thing are agreed on that. But we have cameras that we can enter the classrooms whenever we want to make a supervision, and we can see and we can hear what's going on in these classes. Conceptually systematic. So the interventions are consistent with the principles demonstrated in the literature and the research. It is important for that practitioners continue to use research-based technique and avoid using any shortcuts in our teaching methods. So what do you think about that?
I think they definitely used the principles definitely use the principles of ABA in training. I like the way they use the BST procedure,
Yeah.
and data collection was there. So they really used the principles from the literature and the research.
Yeah, and they use also the Bloom et al. And they are expanded on the procedures they use in this article.
Thanks,
Okay.
Lama. It's very interesting that this article shows that you can implement principles of ABA, and it could be applied in a high fidelity.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very refreshing to hear that. All right, so our next dimension, which
Analytic.
is
Analytic.
analytic.
Yes, this is what Sharifa wants now for the checklists to provide for us, so we can be sure that the checklists answer the questions in the checklists. I think yeah, they mentioned a little bit. They give the main ideas that they were looking at and how they collect data, reliability. I think all this showed that, yeah, it was analytics. So the practitioner is able to show whether he or she applies the certain variables, the behavior is produced, and whenever he or she remove this variable, the behavior is lost. Of course, we cannot do that in this article because when you teach somebody skills, you cannot remove it back from them. But they use the model of concurrent multiple baseline. I think was a clever idea to be used at this in this study. Also, the way that, as Sharifa said, the collected procedures, data procedures were mentioned. The reliability was high, and a dependent variable was explained, and they were defined very clearly. And I think it was easy for me uh, to be convinced that this program was really helpful in improving the supervisors' training skills, as well as the house managers as well, implementing of trial-based functional analysis.
But,
So
we got thanks for being active, Tripti. The graphs proves it was analytic. I agree with that. It was a huge change from the baseline to when they started to start the condition, and it was staggered nicely across the participants using the multiple baseline design. So, yeah, so that really did. So yes, again, they scored 9 out of 10 so far.
yeah, and they put special marks also, and they like that on this article that they were, yeah, they want to be transparent as much that they can with their results as well, and they put special marks under the trials that the house managers needed feedback. So, which makes you feel comfortable that these results are uh, accurate results. Okay, the last one, behavioral. The behavior chosen must also be observable, measurable by defining a behavior that makes it easy, observable, and measurable. We are able to study it for proof improvement as well as lack of improvement. Yes, I believe so. And they give us the chance if we want to ask for all the checklists that they use, the rubric that they use, they mentioned some of them in the article. They said, for example, all these questions were yes/no questions, and they have some. I want to find it now. The examples on the questions that they were scoring For example, did the house manager ignore all clients' behavior during the segment? So, and they give four categories, that whether how they scored their behavior, and they were written in a very behavioral language. And when you read the criteria that they put, you can believe, and I was able to see exactly the behavior they were looking at, and they were taking data on it as well. So what do you think?
Yeah, so we're getting nice answers here. Um, yes, the most important is for the behavior to be well defined. Another was for sure it is not always feasible to conduct full FA's trial based is more time efficient. Another one said it is, and the other said observable, measurable, and quantifiable. So all things were actually behavioral.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and
those are the three important things. It's observable, you can observe it, you can measure it, and you can, quantify it and make a percentage out of it. And that's what ABA is all about. That you want to make sure that is behavioral as well.
yeah. So again, I think it is a great article, and it made me, when I read the article the first time, I made a lot of questions for myself, and I sat and I thought how I'm training people as well. Am I doing that with my trainees? Am I doing all these steps with my trainees? So it made me make like a checklist for myself as well, because are we doing that? Are we giving our trainees the enough time while we are training? Are we put in mind the culture difference? Are we put in mind the diversity in this while we are training? We are human beings. As we are thinking about our individuals, sometimes our trainees we don't give the enough time to think about them as the time that we give to the clients directly. So I believe that's very important step. I believe even if we have the amazing experience during our certification procedure, that when we were trying and we had the best supervisors while we are doing our training and we are doing our supervision hours, I believe all the time we need to remind ourselves, we need to go back and think about the skills that we have as BCBAs. We need this stop between then and while to see before each training, to sit and think uh, about all the aspects. I know that's a time consuming. I know that maybe we are all in a rush. We have a lot of clients, we have a lot of trainees, we have a lot of people that we are supervising. But without these in mind, we will be slipping in a lot of mistakes. And that could also, specifically when we are training people outside applied behavior analysis, teachers, parents, that will affect our repetition, dissemination between the people in general. So to keep this repetition of applied behavior analysis field in a way that it deserves it, because it's amazing field. I'm so biased at this stage, but it's amazing field. Yeah, and I'm in the field since more than 20 years now, and I really like it. So all the time, put in mind that your actions with anyone around you, specifically the people you are training outside the field, is affecting the repetition of our field a lot. صح شريفة, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why we do this in the ABA Journal Club, is to make sure that we continue to push ourselves to read articles, use those evidence-based practices and the newest articles, not depending on the articles in the 90s. Like in any science, you really need to keep up with the latest articles and evidence. So thank you so much, Lama. I really enjoyed our talk today, and thank you for your effort and your time. I know that you volunteered your time today to prepare and also taking the time to present to us. So I really appreciate it, and we all do appreciate that. Please do share. So Michelle sent the link for the evaluation survey. So we would love to get your feedback and what information you'd like to learn more in the next presentations. Also, please do follow us, the ABA Journal Club Instagram, and this is our email, the ABA Journal Club at gmail.com, for any inquiries or questions. I think that is a wrap up. Thank you so much for everyone that joined us today. Please let us know if there's anything that you want to hear more about, what topics you want to hear about. Do you prefer English or Arabic language? Since the ABA Journal Club is run by three Arab women, so maybe we can, divert a little bit of Arabic speakers there. So please let us know everyone's feedback, and I hope those articles you can take your time to read them, and make your practice better. And that's exactly why we have those quarter meetings, to remind each other that, we know that we're busy, but by supporting each other, we definitely would be better in our practices.
Thank
Go
you.
for progress, not perfection. I always remind myself progress, not perfection, Sharifa.
Of course. And yeah, thank you so much, Sharifa. Thank you for giving me
Thanks.
this opportunity as well. And keep up the amazing work that you are doing in the Journal Club, ABA Journal Club. Oh,
Thank
have
you so much.
a lovely day. Thank you.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your day in the US.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.